Hey, Ken Silvestri, Broadway Limited Imports. Well, it's not Christmas yet, but before we run any trains, I'm going to add some dead spots. This is the blue painter's tape, and I'm going to put it on the tracks. Try to get it so it's nice and tight and the wheels can transverse it. And I've also added one on the crossover. You can see it there. We have 3 elegant locomotives that can help you upgrade your layout for this holiday season. And the first locomotive is a Paragon 4 Rolling Thunder added capacitance GE ES44AC, GEVO. So let's see it in action. No problem. Let's see how the ES44 handles it. Piece of cake. There's 17 GEVO paint schemes, starting with the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, CSX Veterans, CSX Law Enforcement, CSX Pride in Service, Demonstrator, Kansas City Southern, Norfolk Southern, Pensy Heritage Unit, Southern Heritage Unit, Union Pacific, Santa Fe Fantasy Scheme, Empire Builder Fantasy Scheme, Canadian National Fantasy Scheme, Union Pacific Fantasy Scheme, and another Union Pacific Fantasy Scheme. The Southern Pacific Black Widow and the Santa Fe Black Bonnet, and both of those are Train World exclusives. Okay, the next holiday locomotive will be the Paragon 4 Rolling Thunder, added onboard capacitance, 280 Consolidation HO. Okay, dead spot number 1. Okay, the paint schemes for the 280. ATSF, Bangor and Aerostuck, Canadian National, Canadian Pacific, Chicago and Alton, Chesapeake in Ohio, Central of Georgia, Great Northern, Lake Superior and Ishpeming, Seaboard Airlines, Southern, Toronto, Hamilton, and Buffalo Railway, Union Pacific, Western Maryland, painted unlettered. Who says Broadway only does Pensy? Okay, next up, well, you guys can see I'm wearing the tie, so it's a hybrid locomotive, and it's the Paragon 4 Rolling Thunder, added onboard capacitance, Santa Fe Blue Goose. And you guys know I just love the hybrids. And interesting enough, this is the only streamlined locomotive that Santa Fe had. And they used it extensively in their publications and advertising. And it's such a beautiful locomotive, but let's see it in action. There's 8 different variations of the Blue Goose. It's as delivered with 3460 on the side of the tender, as delivered without 3460 on the side of the tender, the early 1939 appearance, 1941 appearance, 1950 appearance, 1951 to 1953 appearance, unpainted, black with stainless steel trim appearance, which is a fantasy scheme offered by Factory Direct.
Hey guys, it's Joe with Broadway Limited Imports. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the smoke unit for both steam and diesel and some of the CVs that are associated with it. Also want to touch on how the smoke unit works. So in a steam engine, you know we have 4 chuffs per revolution on a standard loco or 8 chuffs per revolution on some articulated steam engines. And for each chuffing sound that you hear, there's a puff of smoke that comes out of the stack. And this in my hand is our smoke unit. Consists of a smoke fluid reservoir, a little fan motor, and inside of there is a heating element. And so there's a lot that goes into this technically. You've got to have the decoder itself getting the data and then sending that along to an intermediate board in the boiler that feeds the headlight output, cab light output, and tells the heating element what to do and tells the fan what to do. So for each chuff, the fan spins at a certain speed and spins for a certain duration. And every one of those is customizable by you, to your preferences, to the particular model that you have. So those CVs, real quick, I'll run down, is CV232 is the fan idle power. What that means is while you're sitting at idle, the steam engine is going to be sending out a steady stream out of the stack. If you wanted a more robust stream, you can raise CV232. CV233 is fan normal chuff power. 234 is loaded chuff power. CV235 is steam cock chuff power. CV236 is fan rod knock chuff power. And CV237 is fan chuff time. So each one of those, if they're adjusted, it's how much power is going to the little fan. And as the fan gets more power, it spins faster. It's going to shoot your plume of smoke up higher into the air. And so, for example, maybe you don't want any smoke coming out at all during the fan rod knock time. You can have that. You just lower CV236. 2 more CVs to talk about is CV218, which is the smoke unit heating idle set point, and CV219, which is a smoke unit heating element chuff set point. So while it's at idle, you can control how hot the heating element is getting, and while it's running and chuffing, you can control that temperature as well. That pretty much covers it for a steam engine. Now let's move on to diesel. Diesel has 5 CVs to work with. Those are CVs 233, which is a smoke unit power on delay. That means the smoke unit's not going to start producing smoke for a certain amount of seconds determined by CV233. And the reason is when you press F9, you're going to have the startup sequence, doors opening and closing, footsteps, things like that. And then the engine cranks up. So naturally, you don't want smoke coming out of the exhaust before the engine starts up. CV233 allows you to time that up to your preference. CV234 is the fan speed minimum, and and CV235 is fan speed maximum. So with our diesels, while you're sitting at idle, the fan's only going to spin at the fan speed minimum CV of 234. And then CV235 is going to be the fan speed maximum, and there is just going to be a linear line going from minimum to maximum. So when you're at your top speed, the fan's going to be spinning at whatever level CV235 is at. Finally, you've got your smoke unit heat minimum CV, which is CV236, and your smoke unit heat maximum CV, which is CV237. And it's the same thing, linear. When you're at idle, you set your heating element where you want it, and when you're at full throttle, you set your heating element where you want it for the maximum heat, and everything in between will just be linear from stopped to full speed. So you can have your diesel set up to be almost invisible smoke, no smoke, all the way up to this engine needs to be serviced diesel kind of smoke. And if you look at the description below, you're going to see a link to a really in-depth, comprehensive explanation of our smoke unit, some how-tos, some do's and don'ts. Real quick, I want to let you know that all of our smoke units have the wicking material pre-saturated from the factory. You can run it right out of the box with the smoke switch on, and there's no need to add smoke fluid until that smoke stream starts to diminish to the point of barely being visible. Thanks again. Happy railroading.
Now, Christmas is coming, and it'll be here before we know it. Every year that seems to happen. And we've given you 3 options to upgrade your layouts for the Christmas season and to wow the people that come and see it. All these locomotives are at your dealers as we speak, so they're available and ready for duty on your layout. Well, thank you very much, and until next time, happy railroading.